Hello, this is Joseph Shadwick. This is my BBUS 470 second short answer video. It is August the 14th. This is a review of a few different papers that I read concerning acquisitions and mergers. I'm going to be covering a few key points from these papers that I found interesting, as well as things that I'm dealing with currently in my internship and have experienced in my military career, to give a little bit of personal insight as to how I've experienced acquisitions and mergers. A few different key concepts that I want to talk about first that I found interesting was that there were 6 key points that was illustrated in one paper as to why companies usually do acquisitions and mergers. One is because of R&D reasons, but that's only about 1% of the time. Industry convenience, which is about 4%. Geographic roll-up is 9%. Investors, and that could be investor pressure or current investor pressure from investors that are currently in the company, or investors that want to merge into a company or acquire a company, and that's 13% of the time. Product line extension, 36% of the time, and overcapacity, which is about 37% of the time. So too many companies in one particular market, they merge or acquire other companies so that they can reduce down competition. But one of the things that I found kind of interesting was that there was this 11 to 12% rule. That the 11% portion of it was that only 11% avoided a slowdown after an MRA. So the reason why I found that really interesting is it's so low. That means the majority of the companies that are merging are like facing a very, very difficult road, and in a sense almost like, why even merge? The other thing is that only 12% accelerated afterwards in the 2 to 3 period following a merger or an acquisition. Well, that 2% offset, only 2% of the time was there an offset of 50% of the costs associated with a merger. So I find it hard to believe that anybody would want to do an acquisition or a merger at first anyways. I guess market pressure, with product line extension, the ability to tap into resources that aren't otherwise feasible through contract negotiation, may be like the biggest stemming factor of why you would really want to merge or acquire a company. The other thing is declining shares, like 5% of the companies avoided share decline. But also, when I was reading another paper, I found it interesting that what I took away from it was that the stocks really didn't matter. They can be manipulated pretty aggressively, so it can also be like misleading that an acquisition or a merger is a good thing or a bad thing. So a certain level of skepticism needs to be taken away from that. What I'm seeing currently, or I've been training with somebody in my internship that has talked to me about a merger and acquisition within AT&T, showed that there was an attack on the culture of current existing practices when certain segments of the company were bought up by other companies, and in turn were again bought up. And so the culture is continuously shaped and reshaped, and it's caused a lack of support per se from employees over time, tend to cause people to want to move on. I've seen that in the military as well, when you see what they call realignments, which are basically mergers. You'll get a segment of the individuals that just don't want to participate in that, because that change hasn't been really defined. Who's causing the change, who's going to end up with the power at the end of the change, what's the end result. And it kind of leads to like option-led approach in my eyes, that you need to really think about an acquisition or merger from the end back to the beginning, not from the beginning to the end. Thank you for your time.